What's good with y'all, man? It's your boy Will back with another video. Now today, we back with another video. Daily uploads out, man. Make sure y'all hit that like, comment, subscribe button. I ain't gonna beg for no subs, so let's get into it. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about Mr. Watson, D-Dub, and can he return to form? The question that's getting asked by every single person that supports the Cleveland Browns. Don't like the Browns, talk about the Browns. The bigger question is the elephant in the room. We got all these pieces. We're doing all this with the roster. Can Deshaun Watson be back to form? So, this is a very scary question as Browns fans. You know, like, this is the biggest season that we have had in since returning as a franchise. Like, all the marbles is being pushed to the table. So many people are under pressure. And it's all dependent on one guy. And I'm not going to say it's all dependent on him as in, like, it's just him. But 75% of it is kind of depend. 75% of us making a run, and it's a legit run, got to go and deal with Mr. Watson. And it's a matter of if he can return to form. Now, my personal take on it and my spin on it. So, the game I always go back to and I hone in at, out of all the 6 games, I go to that Bengals game. If you thought about that Bengals game, he kind of knew, like, you know what I'm saying? This is an important game. This is a division game. He's playing Joe Burrow. He got to bring it. We got to bring it. Like, we got to go out there and play. And you could kind of see that point of emphasis on him. Like, he was trying to go and win this big game. But a lot of things went wrong, man. Like, and mind you, this was his second game back. He was there athletically. He was spinning out of stuff, throwing dimes across his body. He was athletically, he looked like the same person, if not a little bit better. Athletically. Now, as far as comfortability in the offense, it was not there. As far as wide receiver play, not being used to him, that didn't go in their favor. Because, I mean, hey, you're not used to a guy making a play last 10 seconds long because he's just scrambling and spinning out of sacks left and right. You know what I'm saying? They're not used to playing and doing the scramble drill. So, guys was used to Jacoby Brissett. You know what I'm saying? Like, 1, 2, 3, ball. You know what I'm saying? If it was 1, 2, 3, 4, sack. You know what I'm saying? But Watson is 1, 2, spin out of sack. 3, 4, crossover. 4, 5. Looking at Amari. Amari didn't know the place to live. 6, 7. Still got the ball. Throw it away. You know what I'm saying? So, that's a big change up that the wide receivers didn't think of. And I would say his first game back, like, I'm going to toss that Texas game out of there. Because, I mean, hey, he knew the game was under wraps. We knew we was going to win. His first game back was the Bengals game, in my opinion. Now, who did we play after the Bengals? We played Baltimore, right? So we came out. We lost to the Bengals. Now, that Bengals game was a good game. In my opinion, it was one of his best games. That game and the Washington game. And that Ravens game. Those were all decent above average quarterback play, in my opinion. With the offensive line getting killed by the interior D-line of the Bengals. The wide receivers struggling to get open and struggling to do with the scramble drills. And Jamar Chase tearing us apart. I feel like that was a good game for, you know, I don't think Jacoby Brissett would have played a better game that game. As good as the Bengals defense was playing compared to how bad and poorly other offensive players on the Browns was playing outside of the quarterback position. So that's my game I like to go to. I argue with Bengals fans all the time. I feel like he was neck and neck with Burrow that game. They both had pretty meh games, I will say that. But then he came back. We beat the Ravens. We beat Tyler Huntley and the Ravens. That was a good game. He was making reads. But that was also a nasty football weather game. Like, the thing is, like, people make these assumptions, but the sample size is small. And then when you look into it, it's even smaller. Like, the Bengals game was really the only game I could really see a significant sample size out of. Like, that game, a pressured, high stake, because we still had something to play for. They had something to play for. We were trying to sweep them, and it was Watson versus Burrow. That was the only game I could really feel like was a regular football game compared to the other ones. Compared to instead of like the Steelers game, like what was I about to say? Like pretty much though, what I was getting to is the Ravens game, terrible weather game, and I mean we played pretty much like a nasty weather football game. So I'm not going to go in that game and go off his stats and say, hey, he had terrible statistics that game. It wasn't a statistic game for a quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Next game, we played in New York. We played here in one of the worst cold weather games of all time. So those two games alone, we can't really go off of stats because of how terrible the weather conditions was. He wasn't about to throw for 400 yards. And not to mention, the same people that had come on here and they would, you know what I'm saying, they would bash him or they would put him down are going to be those same people that say, hey, it's -5 degrees outside. It's slush. It's snowy. It's nasty weather. You got a good old line, and you got the best back in football. Run the damn football. We're going to be the same people that do that. So we can't sit up here and discredit his numbers wise and try to pick apart what he did through 6 games when 2 of those games was a wash from the quarterback position due to the weather. So, you know what I'm saying? The Texans game, first game back, that was a bad game, rusty game, but we won. The Bengals game, I felt like that was a decent game. The next 2 games, in my opinion, were wash. In the Saints game, we had Amari Cooper drop a touchdown. We had like 6, 7 drops. It's not on him. Then we go to the Commanders game. He played good against the Commanders. He came out, had 3 touchdowns on 15 attempts or something crazy like that. On like 9 completions, 3 of them was touchdowns. Something crazy like that. Played good against the Commanders. And then he came out against the Steelers that was the next. I feel like I'm missing the game, but he came out, Texans, Bengals, Ravens, Saints. Who else did we play? I can't think of it right now. But he came out and then against the Steelers, that was a bad game. You know what I'm saying? But in his defense, and to come to his defense, I mean, you're playing Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. You've not seen and not getting used to that. I think we really underestimated the idea of playing 3 divisional games. Out of like half of the games he played back was against divisional opponents that's familiar with our offense and familiar with what we like to do. And of course, he didn't look up to par. But he had a good game against the Ravens. He had a decent game against the Bengals. He played bad against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. So that's not there nor there. So I don't know. I feel like it's a lot that gets made out of those 6 games. But originally, when we sit back and look at it, once we got announced that he was getting 11 games, we all said this was about getting him ready for 2023. So now it's odd to me that we got people that sit up here and say, he's not good. He's washed. He's trash. But one game was against the Texans, which was his first game back, which he was babysat through that entire game, and rightfully so. The other game was against the Saints in one of the worst cold weather games. The Baltimore game was a sluggy, nasty football game that had to be the football had to be ran that game. He played the Bengals that was hot. Played good against the Bengals. We didn't put up points. And he had a bad game against Pittsburgh. And he had a good game against the Commanders. So, like, this is all a whole bunch of, we're going to kind of wait and see. But we got people that come on here, and we got people that's on Twitter and on Cleveland Sports Podcast and on the radio making this big-ass deal, excuse my language, making this big old deal about these 6 games that was completely mid games. Like, you could have put any quarterback in that situation. Maybe the Bengals and the Steelers game, it's the only games I'm going to go by, that would have had good, you know what I'm saying, quarterback statistical numbers. So, I feel like this all was a wash. I do feel like he need to play in the preseason. I feel like he need to play in the preseason. I'm going to try to go to a preseason game. But it's really about getting everything comfortable, bro. Like, it's really about getting everything comfortable. He got to get comfortable, and he has to go through training camp the entire course. the whole offseason. This is first time since 2020 that he could go through a whole offseason fully comfortable, doing what he wants to do, and getting back to being a football player. Saying all that, I feel like he's going to be Deshaun Watson. That's my take, and that's my reasoning for it. I don't want to go and say he's going to be great because of what I've seen from him in those 6 games, and I'm not going to say he's washed because of what I've seen from him in those 6 games. But based on him not being based on the flashes he showed, I'm going to say when you give him a full off season, you give him weapons, you give him a clear football brain, a clear mindset to just focus on football, and he's not going to court every week and doing all this extra stuff and having to ask permission to talk to fans. I feel like in that scenario, he's going to be all right. I honestly think he'd be okay. I think he'd be back to being a top 6 quarterback in the league. That's my prediction for him. Now, how many games? I think he's going to be I don't want to say this again, but I think he's going to be fine week 1. As long as he plays the preseason and everything looks cool on the preseason, I think he'll be fine week 1. I feel like he needs to play at least, as long as he can stay healthy, man, I feel like he needs to play at least, 5 quarters of football in the preseason? So, we shall see, man. That's my prediction, though. That's what I think for Mr. Watson. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe if y'all new. Deshaun Watson MVP season loading. We out. Foes up.